So UFC Fight Night, Roman Dolidze versus Fluffy Hernandez is taking place this weekend, and man, I am so excited for this card, man. Back to back Apex events. Who would have thought? Who thought the UFC could get this good, man? You know, they could have just taken both of the Apex cards, put it in a fight night, ran the ads, sold tickets, but instead we got to go to the Apex 2 times in a row. I'm so hyped for this card, but one thing I will say about this card is if you're a betting man, if you're a gambling addict, then this is a perfect card because there are so many mismatches on this card. So Tony has died, will be breaking down Roman Dolidze versus Anthony Hernandez. Let's get straight into this card, starting with the first fight, which is Gabriela Fernandez versus Julia Stoliarenko. So I think Stoliarenko is the only Lithuanian fighter in the UFC. She's 32 years old, and she is completely terrible, man. She's lost to some of the biggest cans in the UFC, like Chelsea Chandler, like Alexis Davis, who's 20-11. She's lost to Luana Carolina, those who know. And she's taking on Gabriela Fernandez, who is now 2-2 in the UFC. And her last win, she beat my glorious queen Wang Kong by submission. Now, in that fight, she was getting pieced the fuck up, and then Wang Kong kind of started showboating, and then she got taken down and subbed. Um, but I will say this, man, I feel like beating Wang Kong is still better than anything that Julia Stoliarenko has done. Um, she's just not good fighter. She's just not a good fighter. I think she gets taken down a lot. I think in this fight, Fernandez will be able to shoot a takedown and hold her there. So I'm picking Gabriela Fernandez to win this fight by decision. The next fight on the card is Uros Medic versus Gilbert Urbina. I'm taking Uros Medic to win this fight via brutal first round knockout, and I'll be surprised if Medic doesn't win this fight. Now, I was surprised when he lost to Pinel Soriano. That fight was kind of embarrassing because it's like that was a layup for Medic. And we used to actually think Medic was a really, really good fighter because he beat, I can't remember who it was, but he had a close, I mean, he lost the fucking Mick Tibak oral by my glorious king. But he beat Tim Means by KO. He beats the cans, all right? And he knocks out the cans every time he fights them. And Gilbert Urbino, he's a can, man. Let's keep it real. Like, getting flatlined by Charles Radke is crazy, you know? He lost to Brian Battle, and he lost to some fucking. I'm pretty sure he lost to Sean Brady on the regional scene, if I'm remembering correctly. I might be tripping, but he went to a decision with Brady, so that's something to kind of look at. But overall, this fight is a mismatch. I think Uros Medic, he has better striking, like a lot better striking. This fight will be on the feet, and I think Medic just holds a clear advantage on the feet. So I'm picking Uros Medic to flatline Gilbert Urbina. The next fight on the card is Jocelyn Edwards versus Priscilla Cachoeira. I'm picking Jocelyn Edwards to win this fight simply because she's actually a UFC fighter that has UFC. She's a WMMA fighter that actually gets finishes. So in her last 2 fights, she has a knockout over Chelsea Chandler, who we were just talking about, and she has a submission over Tamirs Valdal. And now listen, I know you're saying that's not the highest level of competition. And then when she has faced high level competition like Eileen Perez, which was a close fight actually, and Nora Canol, who is a good fighter in WMMA, she loses, right? And that's what Jocelyn Edwards is. She's one of those fringe rankings fighters. Beats the people that don't belong, and she loses to the people that do belong, right? Priscilla Chakera, on the other hand, she's just, I don't even know how to explain this, bro. Like, I mean, she's kind of the same way, I guess, where she just kind of loses to the best people. Like, she lost to Jasmine Jazz Davicius and she lost to Miranda Maverick. But she beat that Josiane Nunez, who kind of looks like a dude, if you know who I'm talking about. She beat her by a uppercut. So that's also impressive to be getting a finish in her last fight, right? But The main factor that's going into this for me is the age difference between them. One is 37 years old and one is 29 years old, almost 30. So we got one that's in their prime in Jocelyn Edwards and one that's just on the decline, tail end of her career. How many more fights does she have really in her? So yeah, I'm gonna be picking Jocelyn Edwards to get this one done, man. I feel like it's a pretty simplistic fight to pick. Just the age difference enough. It alone should be enough. The next fight on this card is Elijah Smith versus Toshiomi Kazma. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Kazama, Kazma, whatever. Anyways, I'm going to be picking Elijah Smith to knock out Toshiomi. I'm going to just call him Kazama. Kazama, he's all right, man. He's a submission grappler, but his style is a little too simplistic for me, man. So he got into the UFC, and the reason that a lot of people thought this guy sucked the reason people thought Rinya Nakamura was going to be the next thing is because of how he dealt with Kazama, where he just brutally knocked him out with a straight left down the middle. I think it was the championship for Road to UFC, and people were like, "Oh shit, Rinya Nakamura, he's going to be really good." But as we turned out, Rinya Nakamura is kind of bad on the feet. I know he just got a finish in his last fight, but the fight before that, he lost to Manin Gafarov, which is like the layup of all layups, on the feet. And so, getting knocked out by Rinya is kind of an interesting situation, I can imagine. But the point I'm trying to make here is that Elijah Smith, man, Elijah Smith is one of the best prospects in the UFC, man. If you remember correctly, I'm pretty sure his dad was a former UFC fighter himself, was on The Ultimate Fighter, right? His dad is the coach. He ended up fighting that Aaron Toe guy. I don't know if you know who that is, but Aaron Toe, he trains with like Adesanya and Volk, and he ended up beating him. So that was an impressive win. And then he beat Vince Morales by decision. Smith is a super technical fighter. I just think that on the feet he'll be able to just out masterclass Kazama, and I don't think Kazama will be able to get his takedowns. And I think that Smith, this is set up for Smith. Like all of the fights on this card are gimmies, bro. These are just mismatches, which is why I was confused that we're going back to the Apex again. Because it's like, why don't you just put all the mismatches on one Apex card, then put all the good fights on one card and make it a fucking fight night, and we can go to an arena, so we can have good fights in the arenas. But I don't know, man. I just these fucking Apex cards are pissing me off, bro, because I want to be recording other stuff, but here I am. The next fight on the card is Rafael dude, these names are pissing me off. Sureeee or whatever versus Julius. I felt like Chael Sonnen right now. I understand. Look, I used to clown on Chael Sonnen for mispronouncing all the names, right? Rafael Sureeee, that's a real thing, all right? He's fighting Julius Walker, right? Julius Walker should win this fight. He should dog walk Rafael, whatever his last name is, because he is a good fighter. He should, I think he lost to Alonzo Minifield, right? But Alonzo Minifield, he's kind of like the Dan Ige of the 205-pound division, where it's like, he doesn't beat anybody who's ranked, but he always beats these up-and-coming prospects. He fraud checks them every time. Minifield just fraud. It was like a close fight, and it could have gone to Julius Walker, but I thought Minifield won the fight. But still, bro, Alonzo Minifield is a good fighter, and to be going to a close decision with him this early into your career spells good things. So I like Julius Walker in this fight. He's going to be like, 26 years old. Fucking Sureeee is fucking 35. Yeah, man. I just think Julius Walker, he's younger, he's faster, he's stronger. He has every advantage in this fight. Sureeee, he's just kind of there, man. Like, his last fight, he got fucking knocked out by Modestas Bukauskas, all right? Like, just take Modestas Bukauskas down. That's what you're supposed to do to him, bro. Like, and here's something else, bro. This guy got knocked out by Ibo Aslan. We know how terrible Ebo Aslan is now. So it's like, how bad is Sirkira to be getting knocked out by Aslan? I feel like Julius Walker is definitely better than Ebo Aslan. Not like 100% better than Ebo Aslan. And if Ebo Aslan can find the chin, I'm sure Julius Walker can too. So I'm picking Julius Walker to win this fight by knockout. The next fight on the card is Eric Anders versus Christian Leroy Duncan. Uh, I'm going to be picking Christian Leroy Duncan to brutally slime out Eric Anders. Now, maybe if this was prime Eric Anders, I would consider picking him in this fight. But considering that the year is 2025 and just shooting a double leg doesn't win you a fucking fight anymore, I'm not going to be picking Eric Anders, right? And uh, his last wins are pretty weak. Now you can he's like, oh, he's 3-2 in his last five, bro. He's on a 2-fight win streak. All right, it's against fucking Chris Weidman, also in the year of 2025, and it's against Jamie Pickett, and it's against Kyle Dawkins. These are the people that Eric Anders is being fed. Versus, anytime he fights someone that actually has power, like he lost to Marc Andre Barrier, which is crazy to lose to him, and he lost to Jung Young Park. Close fight, but I think Iron Turtle clearly got it done. And yeah, man, Christian Leroy Duncan, he's had a couple of roadblocks. He lost to Gregory Rodriguez, got completely out techniqued in that fight, and he lost to Armin Petrosian, right? But Eric Anders is not a more technical striker than Armin Petrosian. He's not a more technical, 100% not a more technical striker than Gregory Rodriguez. So I think when this fight is on the feet, Christian Leroy Duncan, he's going to have such a big fucking advantage. And Eric Anders, he's going to be trying to get, I don't know, man, like, it's just his time is over, man. Like that's what's up with these fights on the card. Is like these are all just old heads versus prospects. It's like, why do we care to see this? Um, but yeah, I'm picking Christian Leroy Duncan. Eric Anders, he could be crafty. He could maybe he could get a takedown and beat him up on the ground a little bit or something. But I just don't see it, bro. I just don't. I don't see Eric Anders coming out of this on top, especially since the fact that he's 39 years old. So. I'm going to be picking CLD to win this fight. The next fight on the card is Miles Johns versus Gene Matsumoto. Why did I say his name like that? Gene Matsumoto, right? Now, I actually thought that Gene Matsumoto beat Rob Font in his last fight. It was a split decision, and Rob Font ended up getting the nod, right? But I thought Gene Matsumoto ended up getting it done. And we look at Miles Johns, right? And Miles Johns is losing to like the bums of the division. People like, well, not the bums, but he's losing to the ranked opposition. You know what I mean? Like he's beating the fucking. I remember he was scheduled to fight Cody Garbrandt twice, and they kept getting canceled. It's one of those like the fucking Tony Ferguson versus Habib fight. Just can never seem to get made, but. Miles Johns, he's been around the UFC for a while. Once again, this is just another old guy versus another fucking prospect, right? Well, actually, it's not really, because Miles Johns is. How old is Miles Johns? Let me look it up real quick. Okay, Miles Johns is actually 31 years old, right? And yeah, I think he could stand a chance in this fight, but I was super impressed. Look, I was just super, super impressed with Gene Matsumoto's like last performance. I think Rob Font would knock out Miles Johns. And also Miles Johns is kind of small for the division. Uh, yeah, man. I'm gonna be picking Gene Matsumoto to win this fight just because of that close fight he had with Rob Font. I thought he won. He's one of the best prospects in the UFC right now, so I'm gonna be picking him to get this one done. All right. The next fight on the card is Andre Fili versus Christian Rodriguez. Now, if you know who Christian Rodriguez is, he is the prospect destroyer. He has the win over Austin Bashi. He has the win over Raul Rosas Jr. I actually thought that he won his last fight against Mazik cannot fucking pronounce names. Maziquazel Costa, whatever his name is, right? I actually thought that he beat Maziquazel Costa in their last fight. It was a split decision. And that's kind of something I've started to notice about C-Rod is that he goes to these razor close decisions every single time. And I think that this one will be no different. He's facing Andre Fili, who is 35 years old. Just coming off the, pretty sure he got knocked the fuck out by, no, he got subbed by Costa. So they're both coming off of losses to Costa. Mel Quizel Costa. All right, fucking, I'm about to crash out with this name pronunciation. All right, they're both coming off losses, but I think that C-Rod had a more impressive performance where you can honestly score the fight to him. Because, yeah, he was doing a lot of, like, I feel like he controlled him enough in the later rounds to win the fight. But, yeah, the one thing that's kind of alarming about C-Rod is he has 6 wins in the UFC, but none of them have come against people that have more than, like, 3 fights, bro. Like, all the people that he's beaten, he's fraud checked, you know? And so, like Cameron Simon, Isaac Dolgarian, Austin Bashi, Raul Rosas, he's the fraud checker. That's what he does. And Andre Fili, he's a well-established fighter in the UFC. But I just think he's on the tail end of his career, man. Like, he's slowing down. He's taken a lot of damage over the years. He got brutally knocked out by Dan Ige just not even a couple fights ago. I think that C-Rod is just like, if like imagine you're playing a video game, right, and you just get the base character that doesn't have any extra special moves or nothing on him at all. That's what C-Rod is. He just does everything average. And yeah, I think Andre Fili has really good striking, but I think that C-Rod will be able to implement his grappling in this fight, take Fili down. Fili's been a little bit chinny, so maybe he can even get him on the feet, but at the end of the day, I think C-Rod will probably win this fight via split decision. I think it'll be a close fight, but I think that he'll edge it out with the grappling. So, yeah, man, I'm going to pick C-Rod to win this fight. The next fight on the card, we got Yasmin Lucindo versus Angela Hill. Now, Angela Hill is an anomaly in the UFC. She's like the Michael Johnson of the lower weight classes. And it seems like she'll just win a random fight out of nowhere for no reason whatsoever, literally. She's almost 41 years old, and that is somewhat concerning because she's taking on Lucindo, who is 23 years old, already has a ton of UFC experience at the age of 23. I'm pretty sure she only has one loss, and it's the Lemos. But you remember the fight with Angela Hill and Caitlin Souza. It was the worst fight I ever watched. They probably threw a combined 20 strikes between the both of them. It was awful to watch, okay? I'm going to be picking Yasmin Lucindo to get this one done. Now, listen, there is a good chance that Angela Hill could fraud check Lucindo because Lucindo's just not that good, but there comes a point in every fighter's life where they just are not able to win anymore, all right? And I don't think that Angela Hill is really that good, if I'm going to keep it real. Like, she is, like, edging by every single fight. Even the fights that she's winning, she didn't really win them. But some of the fights that she's losing, she didn't really lose them, you know what I mean? But she does get robbed in a lot of her fights. But that's something that's not a good thing, because it's like, if it goes to a decision, which it likely is, she doesn't do enough to win the judges, even though that she should probably get the fight. So I'm going to be picking Lucindo. Don't be surprised if Hill gets it done. She's a crafty vet, you know. But yeah, I'm going to be picking Lucindo to get this one done, all right? The next fight on the card, we got Ode Osborne versus Steve Erceg. Listen, man, I can't do this anymore, man. If Steve Erceg loses again, it will be so sad, bro. Because he arguably beat Pantoja. And everyone was like, holy shit, Steve Erceg, he's going to be the next big thing. Turns out he was the next Dominic Reyes, where he has now been slept by Kai Kara-France, beat the fuck out of by Moreno. And now he's getting the Ode Osborne. Now, I do think I'm going to pick Steve Erceg to win this fight because this is short notice for Ode Osborne. That's not the only reason. I think Steve Erceg would have won on a full camp regardless. But I don't know what Ode Osborne is doing. Maybe the UFC told him they like sign another contract with him if he took this fight or some shit. Because Ode Osborne is not good. He's going to a close fight with Lazy Boy. You could say that Ode Osborne Loki should have beaten Lazy Boy, which is like fair enough. But like, why are you making it close with Lazy Boy? You know, um, he lost to fucking Jafel Filo, who is like the worst like flyweight on the planet. There's no shame in losing to Asu Almabayev. But losing to Lazy Boy, regardless if you think he won the fight or not. I mean, he choked, like he dropped Lazy Boy bad in that first round. Pretty sure he almost choked him out as well. Um, yeah, man, Lazy Boy is fucking terrible. I mean, I guess you can. I guess Ode can beat fucking Lewis whatever the fucking guy's name is, but Steve Erceg, he's just shown that he's a high level UFC fighter. Even with his fight against Moreno, he had moments of success. In his fight against Pantoja, he arguably could have won. But the thing with Steve Erceg is like, you know, he's like Corey Sandhagen kind of, where he goes out there and he's like too focused on being a like technical fighter, where it's like, no man, just go out there and fucking cage fight. So I'm gonna picking Steve Erceg to win this fight easily. I think he'll knock out Ode Osborne in the first round. I don't think Ode Osborne is good at all. Hopefully this doesn't follow the fucking. Hopefully Erceg doesn't continue to go down like the Dominic Reyes storyline, because honestly, bro, Ode Osborne is Ryan Spann in this timeline. So hopefully he can break the curse, get a W, because his record is a lot better than it looks. You know what I mean? But yeah, man. Hopefully Steve Erceg can get it done. So let's move on to the main event of the evening. We got Roman Dolidze versus Fluffy Hernandez. Now we got Roman Dolidze, who is actually the greatest fighter on the roster. He's ranked in light heavyweight and middleweight. And he's taking on Fluffy Hernandez, who's coming off of a really, really good win against Michel Pereira in his last fight. But I'll say this, man. Even though I'm going to be picking Fluffy Hernandez to win this fight by decision, I still think that Roman Dolidze has a really, really good chance to upset in this fight. He has really good submissions off of his back. He's a big middleweight. Fluffy's kind of like a weird looking. He's got like a weird physique going. Um, but yeah, this fight is really, really close because Roman has such good grappling and anti-grappling, and he also has decent striking. And Fluffy has such good takedowns for middleweight, probably besides Chimaev, the best, fucking straight up wrestling and grappling in the division. But I've just seen Roman Dolidze go out there too many times and have mid performances. Like his fight against Marvin Vettori, the first, yes, he beat the fuck out of Vettori the second time. But I think it was a regressed version of Marvin. Obviously, Marvin from 2 years ago is going to be Marvin better than Marvin 4 months ago, right? But he's had like Anthony Smith is one of his wins. Middleweight Kevin Holland, and he didn't actually like finish the fight. It was like a rib injury to Kevin Holland. And then Marvin Vettori. And I feel like Fluffy's win over Brendan Allen is more impressive than anything that Roman Dolidze has done at this point. I think he's shown an ability. I know Brendan Allen has bad fight IQ or whatever, but he's shown an ability to be able to survive the submission threat of Allen. So, and honestly, I feel like Brendan Allen, Loki, has better striking than Dolidze on the feet. Now, Dolidze might be more physical, but I think that like Fluffy is really, really good at game planning, finding out what people's weaknesses are and exploiting them. Just look at the Michel Pereira fight where he just took Michel Pereira down anytime he wanted. I mean, there was like 30, like Michel Pereira had probably 30 seconds of success where he landed that body kick, kind of hurt Fluffy. And then after that, it was just like he had nothing for him after that, man. Like literally dog walked. And Michel Pereira, yeah, he got fraud. Like his last couple fights have been iffy, to say the least. So it's not really a win that's aging well, but I think it's shown a good ability for Fluffy to, just show that he's able to game plan. Look at the Roman Kopylov fight for Fluffy. That he Kopylov has much better striking than Dolidze, and Fluffy just completely neutralized that with the grappling. And Edmund Shabazian, that's an underrated win. Uh, I'm not gonna say Marc-Andre Barry is an underrated win, but I think that Fluffy is really, really good at handling people with physicality with his grappling. I think he's fought somebody in Brendan Allen who has better submissions than Dolidze, and he's been able to not get subbed by him. So, and with Dolidze, man, he's the most mid good fighter ever. Where it's like he always looks like he's struggling in his fights and somehow gets it done. Um, I just don't trust Roman Dolidze, man. So yeah, this fight can honestly go either way. I'm not trying to fence sit on this shit. I'm gonna pick Fluffy Hernandez to win by decision. I think Fluffy will win, but it's a close fight, so we got a good one. All right. That'll do it for my picks. So I'm picking Fluffy by decision. I'm picking Urseg by knockout. Lucindo by decision. Rodriguez by decision. Matsumoto by decision. Duncan by knockout, Walker by knockout, Smith by knockout, Edwards by decision, Medic by knockout, and Fernandez by decision. If you like the video, like, subscribe, do all that YouTube shit. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.